welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews, broadcasting on a Monday evening because, well, at time of recording, it's Thanksgiving week, so we have to work around, Thanksgiving. So, with that in mind, we have 3 games to review this week. Up first is a game called Ping Redux. Now, you might be wondering from the title, what is this a redux of? And the answer to that is of another game called Ping 1.5 Plus from the same developer. From what I've seen, the biggest change from one to the other is the soundtrack. Looking at the original 1.5 Plus and Redux, they have different composers. It's like I have played 1.5 Plus, but that was a few years ago. And you can still get 1.5 Plus. I'm not exactly sure why this exists, because it seems, outside of the soundtrack, mostly the same. Maybe some of the levels. I'll be honest, I didn't get too far in the original game, and here I got farther, but, well, I'll get into it in a bit. Anyway, what the Ping series, for lack of a better term, is it's an ode to retro gaming. Not an unfamiliar concept on this program, but this game kind of strikes in a different field. If you're not seeing the trailer footage or whatever, this game is aping the golden age of video games. Atari 2600, Asteroids, Pong, Breakout, Missile Command, all that stuff, which really isn't a thing that's reflected in the retro scene these days. Maybe that's a testament to how old this stuff is, or a testament to who's making games right now. Either way, it is it's an avenue of gaming that you don't see homaged as much these days. But while it's homaging and referencing all the classic video games, it does have a unique spin on it, in the sense that the actual gameplay style is very modern. Basically, this is what would happen if you combined, say, Angry Birds with a lot of these games. How that works out is, once again, touchy, because you can split this into 2 parts, like the regular levels, which are very much in the it's got the retro art style and all that stuff, but it's like your goal is to get to the orange. I think this is an actual orange from what I'm from the bullet points here. It says a delicious orange, so your job is to get there in the least amount of moves possible. It's like each level will have a certain amount of bounces and a certain amount of turns you can do, and and the controls are done Angry Bird style. Except with the whole flinging back, because this is less physics based than that game is. It still takes into account geometry, but if you want to shoot something at something, you do have to take into account how long you're shooting, because that determines the speed. And it's like sometimes a shorter shot, a slower shot is needed. Sometimes a faster shot is warranted. It depends on the stage. That's where a lot of the strategy comes from when this game has strategy. The boss levels, those are the ones that tend to imitate the stylings of a classic game. Not so much the first one that just smashed the world in a certain amount of shots, but like the second one, I think, was Asteroids, then it was like Missile Command, then Kaboom, of all things. I saw one for Space Invaders. It's like, once again, that's where the real direct referencing of the classic games come from. So, and that's where it really runs into problems because the control schemes. Do you know how you controlled Missile Command back in the day? Or say, Pong or Kaboom?
Pong used a wheel, I think, but didn't Missile Command used a whatever the fuck they called the balls?
Track balls. Yeah. Radial dials. I'm like, these are control. These are control devices that aren't used these days.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like on the Kaboom level, that's a game where you needed a radial dial for the maximum amount of precision. It's why a lot of ports of Pong don't work. I'm not even joking about that.
Yeah, they tried to do that in the PS1, and it was, oh god.
Yeah, it's like, Pong, Breakout, Arkanoid, they were all best played with these radial dials. Hell, the NES port of Arkanoid had a special controller that had a radial dial and a button for the laser. And yeah, you can get by, but when you know the differences in the controls, and especially doing it with this Angry Birds setup, it never felt right. It's like, I got the love for the games here, but it's like, going so 1-to-1 with things didn't really work out. But once again, those are the boss stages. I'd say the biggest problem with this game is, a problem I have with this kind of genre in the first place, and that is chaos theory. Here's the thing, but this game especially, just in its
short
original
form being that it's impossible to control things predictably after a bounce or two.
More or less, yes. Because whatever strategy in this game has, it's kind of offset by sheer luck. There was a level where I got barely got a bronze star, and then there was another level where I got a gold star on the first try. It's like it's not necessarily the game's fault either. But it's also, I think, this game is kind of lacking compared to, once again, Angry Birds or Peggle is not exactly in the lane here, but it's a cousin. A game called Gravity Badgers was like this as well. It's like, that's another problem with aping the golden age. Like, we're talking about very bare bones gaming experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And you got that here as well. And, while I like the aesthetical package and I like the music of Ping Redux, I really never enjoyed the gameplay because, it just felt like, it felt like it came, it is just, randomly hoping you get that shot or whatever. It's like, and some levels do mitigate this by allowing you to have another bank or whatever, but that's still limited. And some levels have obstacles, and you have to take timing into account. But once again, it's all up to chance. That's really the nitty gritty of this particular review and this game. It's, it looks good. It's like, if you like, slingshot games, let's call them, this will be right up your alley. Especially if you're of a certain age, like if you're somebody who's, say, 18 years old, I don't think I could really recommend this on its aesthetics because, I don't think someone of that age would, 9 times out of 10 get what this thing is referencing. NES stuff at least is in circulation. Super NES stuff. You can download that onto your Nintendo Switch. It's not too easy to access Atari stuff right now. But that's a discussion for another day. And anyway, all of these issues do run up to the pricing of Ping Redux as it clocks in at $5. By the way, once again, the original version 1.5 plus also clocks in at $5. Now, I'm not sure if this game has ever graced the mobile devices, but it feels like a game that should be on a mobile platform. Because, quite frankly, this kind of gameplay excels on a touchscreen. You wouldn't have to, theoretically change anything to have this on an iOS device or an Android phone, But, on the PC, it's one of those games where it's just too thinly sliced for me to recommend either way, especially at $5. Like, this really felt like it should be clocking in at, say, $2, maybe $3. It's like, I won't say it's a unworthwhile purchase at $5 because it's only $5. But, there's just not a lot of meat on this on these bones. So just keep that in mind. Right, so that'll about do it for this review of Ping Redux. Be sure to tune in after the break when Galax will be reviewing a game called Super Boxland D-Make for the Nintendo Switch version.